January 21st, 2016.
The beloved indie horror game series Five Nights at Freddy's got its most controversial entry yet. A game so controversial that the creator took it off sale one day after release. But why was it so hated? And why was it removed just one day after release? Well, today we're gonna find out. When you think of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, you probably think of animatronic furries, Markiplier, or just kids being murdered. Hell, maybe even think of this.
Hello? Hello?
But the amount of surprise and confusion while this trailer was released says it all. What the fuck is this? Yes, indeed. FNAF World took a very drastic change from the normal Five Nights at Freddy's gameplay with an entirely new art style, entirely new gameplay, coming from a series that has stuff like this. Also coming off of 2 years of just making some of the darkest, most lore-filled, just jump scare city videos of just the most messed up shit you could ever think of. There's only so many times where the human mind can take just writing and just talking about kids being murdered and just really messed up shit. So, I mean, it was about time for him to make a pretty lighthearted game. But to this magnitude, it probably was not the best decision. One of the biggest pieces of evidence we can see of Scott regretting this decision is an interview he did with YouTuber Dawko in 2018. Where he basically talks about FNAF World and all of his mistakes in going into the creation of that game.
So why did you decide to change things up and make FNAF World?
Well, I do have some reasons for why I made it, even though they're not. It doesn't mean it was a good idea. Just just because I want to go ahead and get that out front. Just because I had reasons for making it, doesn't mean it was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But one part of it was just that. I mean, there's only so much that you can let your mind focus on, murders and tragedy and stuff like that before you kind of start cracking. Even if it's just stories that you're making up, there's only so much human suffering that the human mind can sit around and think about. And at that point, I was 2 years in, just fully committed to this grisly story of murders. And I had to make something more lighthearted. And in hindsight, what I should have done is, I should have used that for a troll game, or I should have, made something like, Foxy Fighters. I should have just done something that was obviously for fun and not tried to somehow tie it in to a canon game. And that's obvious to me now. But like I'm saying, like I was saying, I wasn't thinking completely rationally at the time. And whereas, like I was saying, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was the right game at the right time, FNAF World, that wasn't a good time for it to be made, because I was already in the rhythm of making games that were, coming out not too far apart from each other. I was making them pretty fast, and that's what people were wanting and expecting, and that's what I was wanting to do anyway. I'm not, blaming people for wanting that. That's what I had created, that pattern, and I was happy with that. I liked making games really fast, but that was just a really poor decision of a game to try to make fast. In hindsight, like now would have probably been a better time to sit back and work on something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like after all the after I was kind of satisfied with all the canon games and other companies that kind of taken on some other projects, then I could sit back and maybe enjoy making an RPG, and spend a couple of years on it, and just make something really nice, kind of, that looked like the Desolate Hope, really make some nice 3D models for it. Oh, and another mistake I made was FNAF World. I was designing it for mobile. I don't know. This is a whole separate interview about what went wrong with FNAF World. So let's just move along.
Okay.
I have never understood the drama that was behind FNAF World. Why Scott even made it, why was he getting so much hate, and why Scott was showing so much not so good feelings regarding this game. This has all led to wonder why FNAF World was so awful, and why did Scott even make it in the first place? Regarding as to why Scott made the FNAF World in the first place, I think it has something to do with him being driven to insanity after making so many morbidly dark games in only a short monthly schedule. Thinking about it further, I think it's rather Scott got burnt out with the FNAF 1 to 4 era of games and started having more fun with Sister Location and onwards. As you saw in the Dawko interview about why he made FNAF World, it was because you can only make so many morbidly dark things before you start to go kinda crazy. And remember, these games were being made and released months apart. Even the biggest of game companies would experience burnout, let alone one guy. Sometime in January of 2017, Scott made a devlog on the FNAF World Game Jolt page where he discussed on how he was not happy and not proud with it, and that he would blatantly walk away for it, fully admitting as to how terrible it was. Not to mention, he had also basically dissed FNAF World in that devlog. I'll link the devlog in the description below so you guys can go and check it out. Since then, all of this regarding why Scott made FNAF World, why it was so awful, and why Scott dissed FNAF World himself and even walked away from it has still confused me ever since I knew about it. And it still confuses me to this day, which means it has persisted for the entirety of 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and now 2023. FNAF World wasn't bad at all. In fact, it's actually a really good game. It just came out at a bad time. In fact, I'd say it's probably one of my favorite FNAF games. Basically, at the time it came out, the franchise wasn't really ready for a game like that. At that time, it was FNAF that was a simple horror game series and had not had anything like FNAF World before. The fan base just wasn't really ready for a thing like that. If it had been released after UCN, I feel like it would have been more widely accepted. And that possibility, Scott would have felt it was better, which brings me to the next question. I think that Scott just also felt that he shouldn't have made the game, partially because of the hate it initially received. One would think though that by now he wouldn't still regret it, but I guess he just is still mad at himself for making the game at a time where it wouldn't have been appreciated as much. I think FNAF World was so hated because it was drastically different from what we became expected/accustomed to in the past games. I enjoy it for what it is, a fun meta RPG based game, and while there are some flaws, FNAF World had the potential to be something better if Scott just chose to improve upon it. But I don't think it matters in this case if it was very different from the previous ones. But I'm wondering now, why did Scott criticize FNAF World himself in that Game Jolt dev on January 2017 and just walked away from it in a crushing loss? But what do you guys think? Why do you think Scott made FNAF World in the first place?
So how would you treat the game now as an experience? Like, have you learned anything making this game?
Oh yeah. I learned a lot. Yeah, in fact, right before you called, I was kind of thinking over that game, and I realized that, you know, that's probably the least valuable game I've ever made as far as profit is concerned. Mm-hmm. But it's also the single most valuable game out of the entire franchise. And the reason is because what I learned from FNAF World is what is driving every single project going on right now. It is serving as the gemstone of quality control in my mind, and it has solidified exactly what I have to do going forward. If I was treating the movie as I was treating my game series at the time I made FNAF World, mm-hmm. we would be 3 movies into the FNAF movies by now. Yeah. And they would probably be terrible. You know, if I had the mindset that, oh hey, it's Five Nights at Freddy's, people will love it, you know, regardless of quality, mm-hmm. then we would already have several movies and they would all be terrible. I mean, you know, and this, you know, Ultimate Custom Night would have come out way too soon, and it just served as a really important lesson for me that you should never take. It taught me to never take for granted. Yeah. How special it is to have a group of people who are eager to play what you make. Whenever I made I'll use the Desolate Hope as my example again. I saw one person made a piece of fan art of that on the internet. I found it on Google, so I'm going to draw one of the characters, and that was the most special thing to me in the world, that someone had drawn a picture of one of my characters. Like, I can't even tell you how important seeing that one drawing was. And it was just, you know, I'd have no idea who it was. You know, but then, you know, to have a fan base and to have kids that are drawing these pictures and, you know, sending. I got a letter from the other day addressed to Foxy. Aww. You know, And God bless the post office in my town for knowing me and for sending me these letters.
So there you go. One of the most important questions in the history of mankind, that is a true statement by the way, answered right there. Well, I don't know if it was exactly answered, but it depends on how you see it. It depends on how you take it and what your opinion on it is. But I'm very curious as to what you guys think of, this whole question. Do you guys like FNAF World? Do you think that it was a mistake creating this game? Do you think it should have come out at a later time? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I wish I got this done before the FNAF movie came out, but I'm actually gonna go see it right now. So maybe next video, there'll just be some FNAF movie spoilers. That was a joke, by the way. Other than that though, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about this whole just situation in the comments below. Other than that though, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.